Correct. Okay, thank you. Okay, so coming to the topic of the webinar, many of us here, I'm sure, have experienced some sort of block or challenge when it comes to trying to get more out of our retail fundraising. So today we're going to be learning a little bit about the 4-phase life framework for scaling our retail fundraising. Quite an intriguing topic, right? And to take us through it, we have with us today none other than Dhaval from danamojo, along with 2 other team members from danamojo, Kayamers and Rachita. Excuse me. For those of you who are meeting Dhaval for the first time, he comes with a lot of experience across tech, management consulting, and philanthropy advisory. He's worked with multinationals prior to his social sector journey, and he's been in this sector for the past 15 years, having gone through the entire trajectory from volunteer to CEO at GiveIndia, and then social entrepreneur as the founder and CEO of danamojo. Of course, you can read more about him and follow him on LinkedIn. And before I hand over to him, just a few things. Number one, there will be a dedicated Q&A space, so look out for that. But at the same time, in the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat box to drop in your questions or any other thoughts, experiences that you may want to share, and we'll be sure to take it up. And secondly, the session will be predominantly in English, but if anybody feels that they really need it, we will try our best to translate in the chat box itself. Okay, so without any further ado, Dhaval, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Beda. And welcome everyone. Good afternoon. We yet have people coming through. And as Beda said, would be great if everyone can really put on their cameras. I think it just makes for a far more interactive session. Definitely energizes me at least. And first preference for questions will go to those whose cameras are on. Okay, so hopefully serves as some incentive. But yes, please do put on your cameras. It's just a lot more fun. And so before we start off, just a quick sense of the room and an understanding of the room from where I'd like to lead off. So we're gonna do a little bit of an interactive exercise as we begin, also to wake us up in our post-lunch siesta. So let's start off with that, and I'm going to ask everyone. Many of you all may have would be aware of this. Those who are not, let's go to a site called mentimeter.com. Menti.com. We'll go to a site called menti.com. You can do that on your phones as well, if you don't want to do it on your laptop. And I'm going to ask you to enter this code. Go to menti.com and enter this code, which is 888-21638. If you can just enter that code.
Can you please repeat the code?
It's there on the screen. You can see it on the screen. 888-21638. 888-21638. You can see it on the screen. It's there. And tell me, what do you think what comes to your mind first when you hear the term retail fundraising or retail donors? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Or what are the different things that come to your mind? What do you relate it with? Okay, people, paisa, individual donor. Okay. Beda, can I just ask if we can disable the waiting room so that everyone who's joining in can just join in? The thing is coming up on the screen. It's quite distracting.
Yes.
Right. Okay, crowdfunding. So a lot of y'all are saying crowdfunding, individual donor crowdfunding is is what most of y'all are saying. Very interesting. Okay, great. So, so I think yes, I think the same themes are being repeated, but I think what I'm seeing largely is individual donor, crowdfunding, individual donations. So great. I think we understand that it is about individual donors. We'll talk about what's the role of crowdfunding in this and why, unfortunately, retail fundraising is only associated with crowdfunding. But actually, crowdfunding is just one of the ways in which you do retail fundraising. It's one of the channels. And there are many other ways to do it. And we will obviously be talking more about that today. Right. So I'm going to move on to the next question now that we have about 50 people. So let me ask you this, right? You said it's retail fundraising is about individual donors. Now, how many of y'all like approaching donors one-on-one and asking for money? How many of you like to do this? Right? How many of y'all love doing this? Come on, guys. We have 50 people on this call. Let's quickly get responses in. This is, it would be good to understand where this crowd stands. Right? So most of y'all are saying, okay, or don't like it, but we'll do it because one has to do it. Right? Come on, guys. More responses. We have 50 people. And yes, like Beda said, we will do a Q&A at the end of this session. But in the meanwhile, if you have any questions as we go through the presentation, you can put that on the chat. Yes. Any more? No, nobody more? 50 people? Are people logged in or not? How many people do we have out here? Can I see that anywhere? No, I don't think I can.
Yeah, it's at the bottom of the screen, Dhaval. 25, 26 people have joined into Mentee.
Okay. Yeah, too many toolbars around. Difficult to see anything. Okay. So most of y'all are actually saying that you don't like, but you have to, or it's okay, I will do it because I have to do it. Literally just one person says, I love selling it. You know, I know a lot of people enjoy interacting with people, but interacting with people is different than actually asking them for money, right? So, so we all have a certain amount of shyness. Now, I want to say something which is very contradictory, many a contrarian, if I might. A lot of y'all may have heard differently, but retail fundraising is the thing for you if you don't like interacting with people. It is the thing for you if you don't like approaching people one-on-one for money. And as you can see, most of you all don't like doing it. Right? So retail fundraising is the right thing for you if you don't like asking people one-on-one for money. Right? Because retail fundraising, you will not ask one-on-one. You will ask in a mass format. And we will talk about that, how we will also be asking in a mass format. Right? So, so we will do that. Okay, let's move on. And let me ask you, if you don't do retail fundraising actively, why don't you do it? And if you do it, you have one option for that also. But if you don't do retail fundraising actively, when I say actively, I mean like on an everyday basis. For example, when you do CSR fundraising, when you do institutional, every day you are asking people for money, right? So in such cases, if you are not doing retail fundraising actively, can you tell me why you don't do it? Not as a one-off campaign, but as more as an ongoing thing. More people responding. For those who've come in late, you can go to mentee.com, enter this code on top, which you see, 88821638, and participate in this interactive session. Okay, many of you all have said no resources, bandwidth also, apart from I don't know how to do it. No resources, bandwidth. I also look at no resources, bandwidth as a choice that you are making. That it's obvious that you are doing some form of fundraising. You can't be surviving without doing any fundraising. So you are doing some fundraising, but you're probably prioritizing that other forms of fundraising. So why are you prioritizing other forms of fundraising is what, if you can answer about of that here, it would be better. Somebody's also opted for other, maybe whoever's opted can also put in the chat what other reasons you are there which you don't do retail fundraising. Okay, so most of y'all, I mean, I would say almost everyone who has responded to this survey is saying they don't do it either because they don't know how to or they don't have resources and bandwidth, which is a prioritization issue, right? So it's you're aware of it. You probably want to do it, which is why you're there today in today's session, but you don't know how to, and you don't know how to carve out resources and bandwidth. So today's session is definitely going to talk about the how-to part of it. And hopefully when we talk about the how-to part of it, you would realize that it actually is something you would like to prioritize for all the benefits that it also has. Right? So, but we won't go too much into the benefits, but we will, because that's not what today's session is for. We will look at it a bit. Okay. So great. And one last question. Why do you want to do it? Why do you want to do retail fundraising? What brings you to the session today? Right? Why is it that you're doing retail? Why do you want to do it? So you have options which are accessing unrestricted funds, fund capacity building, diversified funding source, stable donor source, engage communities in your cause are your options. If you have other reasons, please feel free to put it up on the chat. Would love to hear what those other reasons are. Right, Meera, you said that there is no option for consistently like once in 3 months. Once in 3 months is 4 times a year. That's not consistency. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about doing retail fundraising consistently on an everyday basis, which is what today is going to be about. Okay, so most of you have said a diversified funding source and to have a stable donor source, engage in communities. But yes, diversified funding source, clearly the biggest reason why most of you all want to do it. And that's a fantastic reason to have it. It's not just about the fact that retail is one more thing. Retail donors and retail fundraising is very different from all other forms, which are actually very similar, whether it's CSR, whether it's institutional, or HNIs also to some extent. They're very similar in terms of how you reach out, how you outreach, how you give proposals, how you give feedback, how you sell. A lot of it is very, very similar. And retail, on the other hand, is quite different. And that's why it's a truly diversified funding source. So this is great, right? A lot of you all want to do it, but you don't know how to, or you don't know why you should prioritize it. So let's come to that, and we will talk about that now. Why you should prioritize it. So I am going to share my screen. Yeah, so I think you should be able to see my screen in full screen mode. Is it there in full screen? Yeah, great. Okay. So we're going to talk about Dana Vriddhi, which is a 4-phase life framework that we at danamojo here have developed to tell you how you can not only do retail fundraising on a consistent everyday manner with a proper framework in a proper process, but also be able to scale it. Right? So we have this LIFE framework that we have, which is List, Inspire, Fundraise, and Engage. Before I jump into this, let me tell you what today's session is about, who it is meant for, and who it may not be meant for, right? So we're going to talk a little bit today about how retail fundraising can be done on a daily basis within your organization. We're going to talk about the LIFE framework, go through it, and also how you can scale retail fundraising, leveraging your key strengths. In my experience, every organization has certain strengths, and those need to be leveraged. So it's not one size fits all model, but those strengths need to be leveraged to scale retail fundraising. So who is today's session really meant for, right? I think today's session is meant for those who have started down this journey of retail fundraising, like Meera said, doing it once in 3 months, but want to do it more regularly, right? Those who want to build systems and processes that allow others in the organization to do it beyond the CEO and the founder, right? And today's session may not be for those who have not thought about doing retail, or who are wondering whether to go down that path or not. But I'm hopeful that if you see how we propose you should do retail fundraising, you may decide to jump into it, right? So with that in mind, let's go ahead. And one of the things that I'd mentioned in one of the earlier, those polls, was the fact that you don't want to do retail because it's expensive. And I think inevitably, when you look at no resources bandwidth, it's a prioritization. You are prioritizing your time for other fields. And most likely that prioritization is coming because you think you'll get more bang for your buck, you'll get more money, you'll get better return on investment in those forms versus retail. And I just want to bust that myth out here. A lot of it starts by happening in the way we do retail. I think the way most people do retail fundraising, most organizations do retail fundraising, is not the right approach. And so we want to first focus on that. As the way you do it is the difference, and because of that you have higher costs. So we have something called the OPQRS difference between ICH and retail donors. We've put this into this field. So it's for outreach, right? So ICH stands for institutional, CSR, HNI donors, right? So when you go to any of these donors and you're reaching out to donors to judge whether they'd fund you, you'll have to write a mail to each and every one of them. A mail which is also highly personalized based on what areas that organization works in, funds, and how what you do fits in with the strategic areas of that organization. And that would have to be a highly customized mail for each one of them, right? So if you're writing to 10 people, you need to write 10 different mails. Retail fundamentally is not about doing one-on-one anything. Okay, retail is about doing mass communication, mass outreach. So you can have a single communication which is going out to all your retail donors, right? Whether it's a newsletter or whether it's a outreach when you run a crowdfunding campaign, it can really be just one outreach that can go to everyone. Proposal, once again, the same thing, right? You are filling up 10 proposals in 10 different formats, in 10 different styles, fonts, colors, requirements, each to the specific need of the funder. On the other hand, with retail, the best thing out here is you decide what you want to ask for. And those asks are not many, they are a few, because as an organization, you are doing the same thing year on year. So when you determine what those asks are, so what is an ask in a retail communication? An ask in a retail communication could be, for an example, would be sponsor a child's education for a year, okay, or sponsor a wheelchair for a person, or sponsor a well in a village. It could be these kind of things, which by and large will not change every year, right? Maybe if you have 5 different things that you do, maybe you do one new thing every year. So you have to make these asks only once, and then it's applicable to all donors, all the retail donors, almost forever. The only thing that changes is pricing. Queue. So a lot of times, people have told us, they worry that when they get a query from an individual in a CSR, it takes them so much time to respond to that query. It requires senior management effort. It requires senior management time to respond. So if I had hundreds of donors, if not thousands, how would I be able to respond to so many people, given that they're all probably giving me 5,000, 10,000, or even 1,000 rupees? Is it worth the effort? But I think this misses a very fundamental and crucial point, is that CSR and institutions will ask for fairly complex queries, which do require senior management involvement. On the other hand, what is a retail donor really asking for? The biggest query that he or she will have is, give my ATG. That's the most query that you would get. So the queries are a lot more simpler to deal with. They're a lot more low level. Pretty much anyone can deal with it as long as once you have developed a system around it. Right. So in my previous organization, we had 150,000 retail donors. Right. And can you guess how many people we had in our donor support, donor care help desk to support these 150,000 donors? You can put up your responses in chat. How many people do you think we had in our help desk to support 150,000 donors? Can you guess? Probably 3 to 5, Ran Vijay says. No one else? Anil says 10. 1, 2, okay. So maybe I've given you the hint. We actually had half a person. We had a person who spent only 4 hours of their time working on donor care and 4 hours of their time doing something else. Because one, the queries were very simple. They were largely templatized, right? Second, there was technology to help out that person and the donor in getting their own answers, right? Moving down. So R is reporting, right? So reporting, again, you would probably be doing at least 4 to 6 reports every year for any corporate donor, any institutional donor, right? At the minimum. I heard cases where people are doing even 3 reports a month. But I think at least 4 to 6 is the standard reporting. And each of these reports are different. Each of this has, needs to be done in a different manner with different input, different data. Again, taking up a lot of time. On the other hand, retail donors don't have that requirement. You don't have to give something specific to every donor. With retail donors, it's a standardized report. You can send a common report to all donors or to a segment of donors or on a particular program. You're running 5 programs, maybe 5 reports in a year, right? So it's not a lot of the same things again. It's all very standardized. It's all mass communication once again. And last and most important, S for staff, right? ICH donors generally have to be done by founder, CEO, or senior people. On the other hand, retail donors can be done by any mid to junior level person with the right guidance enabled with tools and technology. And this is why all of these things, right? Not 1:1 communication, 1:1 mass communication, simpler queries, ready-made proposals, standardized reporting, and junior level stuff is why costs in retail fundraising are not as high as you imagine them to be if done in the right way. Right? So we will talk about that way, but this is the broad structure that we will go through today. So we're going to start with the myths of retail fundraising. So many of you all said crowdfunding. So you all think crowdfunding is retail fundraising. Crowdfunding is not the only way to do retail fundraising. Crowdfunding is one of the channels. It's one of the ways in which to do. But don't kid yourself that if you do crowdfunding, you are doing fundraising. Because in crowdfunding, you're only asking for money. Where is the engagement portion, right? Engagement is a very important part of any fundraising. But in crowdfunding, all we're doing is asking for money, and that also largely once a year. Maximum maybe twice a year. Not good enough, which is why it is not. Then a lot of times we think that, we would like people to just give us bank transfers, checks, and do retail fundraising in this manner. And as many of you all may have already experienced, it's not as cheap as it seems or feels. The time cost that goes into into managing checks or managing bank transfers, getting data of the donor, all of that is additional cost, which we are not accounting for. And it's very important in retail to be technologically driven, which means that you must have a payment system on your side, which means that you must automate sending thank you mails, ATG receipts, so that a lot of the work which you will do manually and thus will cost a lot will not cost a lot, right? So that is very, very important. Many people also believe that if I am post something on social media, it's going out to all the followers that I have, and so I have vast reach of 10,000 followers. But the reality is you need to look at your reach numbers. Please look at your reach numbers before you just assume that everyone you've sent a message to has received the message and has seen the message. In fact, by and large, across the world, in my experience, nobody has ever raised money by posting organically on social media, right? No organization has raised. Social media may work great when it comes to fundraising, but not when it crowdfunding, sorry, but not when it comes to organizational fundraising. The organizations that do raise money on social media spend money to raise money. They do digital marketing, they run digital ads, and even in that, the most successful ones are those that actually have a brand name, right? So don't assume that just because you're doing it, it's working. This does not work. One other thing, right? So we've said, many people have said, retail fundraising is unrestricted. Only some of you all opted for this, but I know a lot of you all probably feel this, that you want to do it because it allows you access to money which is not tied. But let me ask you this, as a donor, like all of us, all 50 of us on this call today are essentially retail donors, right? As a donor, if an NGO organization came to you and said, hey, give me 5,000 rupees and I'll use it wherever I want, how likely are you to donate to such an organization? Versus an organization that says that you give me 5,000 rupees, we'll educate a child for a year. I think put yourself in the shoes of the donor and understand whether this happens. And this mindset that we are getting unrestricted money prevents us from actually engaging with donors, because we are only viewing them as a way to fill our unrestricted pool, right? Nothing wrong in getting unrestricted money. First of all, the name itself is wrong. It sounds very negative when you say unrestricted, right? I think what you really mean is flexible. You want funding that's flexible, that you can use for different purposes as per the needs of the organization. But allow donors to reach that stage. Allow you go for flexible funding to long-term donors, to loyal donors, to high-value HNIs maybe. But if you want to develop a retail fundraising practice, remember that people, when they start off, donate to the cause. They don't donate to the organization. They, as much as any CSR says, I want to fund 100 girls' education. Retail donor says, I want to fund 1 girl's education. There is no difference, right? There is really no difference. And thus, if we want to engage our retail donors, we have to be able to think in that tangible manner for donors to feel connected to the cause through your organization. And hopefully over a period of time, they may migrate from being cause donors to organization donors who give you flexible funding. One other reason that we've seen, and it came out in the survey today also, people don't know how to do retail fundraising, right? We don't know how do we go about this beast? What is it? We don't know. And that's what we're going to talk about today through the live framework on how to do retail fundraising. So we've developed a 4-phase approach called LIFE, stands for List, Inspire, Fundraise, Engage. And we'll go through each of these sections today, starting with List. Right? So let's talk about first how to build a prospective donor list, right? Not a donor list, a prospective donor list. Prospective donor list means anybody who could be donors, right? So that is what a prospective donor list means. Right? So your donations are a function of 3 things. Remember that. First, it is a combination of your reach, right? Next, it's a combination of the channels that you use to reach out to these donors. And third, the ask that you make, and which is essentially a fundraising appeal, how good that is. So an ask is something you will never, you will get a certain level of perfection, a certain level of fineness around it. And, then it's there. Beyond that, you can keep working on it, but the marginal returns are very minimal. The incremental returns are very minimal, right? So that is something you can do. And the next is the fixed number of channels. So channels that are there, you only have a few channels, whether it's email, WhatsApp, social media, right? But they help to amplify your message, but you have a fixed number of channels. There isn't unlimited channels, there are a fixed number. What is really in your control is the reach, right? And especially in a country like India, the reach is unlimited. It's almost unlimited. It's everybody is a potential donor, right? So if we have to get a hygiene, we have to set our hygiene level of fundraising appeal, put our channels in place, and have a certain reach, right? And I mean, reach is what we focus on after we've sorted out channel and ask, but that's a one-time thing. Reach is an ongoing thing. Let me ask you, how many donors do you have on your donor list? And if you don't have a donor list itself, then I'm going to ask you to say that, please say that you have 0 donors, okay? Or you can click the least option out here. So I've started a poll on Zoom. Would love to hear how many donors are there on your list. And please answer this as only if you have a list. If you don't have a list, select the first option. Right? If you don't have a formal list itself, select the first option. Let's see how many donors people on this call have. We have 50 people, hopefully at least 40 responses. Yes, how many donors do you have on your list? We've got 30 people who responded. Of 30, 60% are in the less than 50, or which includes the 0 bucket. Right? So 60% are there and another 20% less than 250. Anyone? Come on, guys. Let's, great. If we can get to 40, I will give another 10 seconds for everyone to put this up. And then I will share this data with you. Okay, I'm ending the poll and sharing this data with you so you can see that 60% of y'all have said less than 50 and 80% of y'all, or 85% of y'all have said less than 250. Right? So you have less than 250 donors. So most of y'all have less than 250 donors, and let's track this, right? So we are at 335 and y'all have said you have less than 250 donors. Now we'll move ahead and talk about how you can actually think about donors in the first place. So thinking about donors is much larger than the contact, I'm thinking about prospective donors is much larger than thinking about donors, right? And everyone is a prospective donor, like I mentioned, right? Everyone in your circles, everyone in your organization circles. Who do I mean by that? Maybe your bank relationship manager, maybe your technology vendor, right? Maybe the grocery guy who provides you with all the groceries, your vendors, your suppliers. Everyone is a possible donor. And let's see how we can think about this in a more structured fashion, which we will develop with circles. So your first circle, for example, is people who are directly associated with the organization. This obviously includes the board, the staff, any newsletters, blogs, subscribers that you may have, volunteers, maybe donors. If you have customers, if there are people who buy products, there are NGOs which make products, have you ever reached out to those customers for donations? And lastly, your alumni beneficiary, because who knows your organization better? And I know of one organization where about 1/3 of its donations today come from their beneficiary. And this is a 20 crore plus organization. It's not a small one, right? So this is your first circle of donors. Okay, now just keep this in mind. Let's go to the next thing. Oops, yeah, okay. So roughly you may get about 1,000 donors just by looking at this data. Your next circle of donors could be people that your founders, CEO, senior management know. Do you do any events? Do you do any seminars? Do you do any meetups? Can you get attendees from there? All your CSR SPOCs, your institutional SPOCs, your funding organization SPOCs, all of those are potential donors. Your vendors, service providers, all possible donors, right? Interns, alumni staff, right? People who were with you, no longer with you, potential donors, right? So this is another number, again, possibly another 1,000 people. A third circle, fourth circle, fifth circle does go on endlessly. But you may ask me, this is so difficult to think about and derive this data. It's not that difficult. If you are, most of you all would be using Gmail, you can download your entire contact list in one shot from Gmail. After that, there is maybe a little bit of effort to go through and see who is not a donor, who you are sure or who you've had a fight with them, you are not on good terms with them, you don't want to ask them for money, but only those you remove. Everyone else who is part of that list, do not think that somebody will not give. Because if anyone has done crowdfunding, the one learning that you will always have is those who you most expect to give will not give. Those who you least expect to give land up giving. So the reality is you, me, or nobody knows who is a giver and who is not a giver. So do not make that assumption on behalf of someone. Just include everyone in that list, include everyone in the group, right? So, and then obviously maybe there are some old emails, whatever, you can remove a little bit. Look at your list of past donors in your organization, right? So what I'm going to ask you to do, each one of you to do now, is to estimate your list size, right? These are some this is a framework that you could possibly use, and put down what you think is the number of prospective donors you will have if you take up this exercise. For now, I just want you to put down the numbers, not the names. Obviously, eventually you need to put down data, but for now, you put down just the names. One simple exercise you can do even now, and we'll take 5 minutes for this, is to go to your Gmail, download your contact list, and see the size of that contact list, right? Open your phone books, look at how many contacts you have out there, right? Look at this and put down how many prospective donors you have. Let's take 5 minutes and do this exercise. I want you to see how many prospective donors you could have compared to what you have today, right? So if you can just, everyone can do this exercise for the next 5 minutes. If anyone has any questions on this exercise, feel free to ask. But very simple, try to just put down numbers against each. Make a total number of how many prospective donors you have by just filling out these 3 tables. And for those who finish this activity, please let me know through this poll how many of y'all, how many prospective donors are now there in your list. Those who are doing it, you yet have 1 minute, and those who've completed, please put down out here how many prospective donors are there in your list after you've done this activity. Hopefully, we'll get more responses. Only 16 people have responded so far. At least all the 30 people who had filled it out should fill it out again, so you know where you stand. You can see some people have not moved and many have moved quite a bit. Let's take another 10 seconds for all those who have not filled it out to fill it out, to fill out the poll. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and let's have a look at the results. So let's see what the results out here say. Now, if you remember earlier, 85% of y'all had less than 250 donors. That number is now 35. Right? And 55% of y'all are saying, compared to 15% earlier, that you will have more than 250 donors. Now the time just now is 3:47. In 12 minutes, this change has been achieved. You know what your numbers are. And if you spend more time on this, imagine how many more donors you could reach. This is not the hard work, this is the easy work, but I hope I have demonstrated to you your own potential of increasing your list of prospective donors, and you will all go back and develop this list. Now, that's the really tough part. In fact, creating a list is the most time-consuming thing in all of this entire life framework. It is the one that takes the most amount of time, effort, rigor, but once done, the value that it will provide you is forever. It is immense. And then you must have a methodology, a mechanism where you keep adding to that list. Right? So I hope that this has been useful. You have a sense of what you could achieve. We'll now move on to the other parts, which are more internal in nature and to that extent simpler. So we'll talk about Inspire. Now, so you need to inspire your donors to donate, right? This comprises of two parts. One is the story and one is the ask. So your NGO will have to communicate to your donor with a story, right? Which makes the donor emote. Because emotional giving is what will drive retail donors. These donors will then come to the website, to your website, and make a donation to one of your asks or donation options or campaigns. But we'll call it an ask. They will make a donation to that. So these are two very important elements of your inspiration for donors. One is the appeal you make to them, and the second is what they come and find when they have to actually donate. You will find lots of resources on how to write a good story, right? Many different types of stories can be written. A lot of people get stuck only at one kind of story, which is the beneficiary story. But that doesn't have to be the case. And we will talk a little bit about this in engagement and what kind of stories you can have. But please think beyond just beneficiary, because it'll get boring for you also. Forget the donor. Right? And there is again lots of this available online. You can research, you will find a lot of it. What is less available, however, is ask. Asking for money for what? Right? We all wish donors were like this. Just give me money. Why you want to know more? Why you want to know the cause? I am doing good work, give me money. But no, doesn't work that way. So what is an ask? An ask is a specific request for a specific amount of money and made up of two things. What the money will be used for and how much does it cost? Simple. Right? It is not an appeal. It is not a story. It is essentially telling the donor what you want and why you want it for. So an ask or a donation product, as we call it, basically showcases the impact of the donations, has 6 key elements, if I might say. One is the name. What are you asking for, right? The name. Second could be a description, a more detailed information about the donation product, about your ask. An image mentioning the tax benefit, right? And what is the cost of it, right? And also whether it's a fixed cost product or a variable cost product. So you could have certain things where you might say, hey, I want to educate a child for 5,000 rupees, but building a classroom costs 5 lakhs, so give whatever you want towards it, but at least give me 500. So 2 types of different asks could be there, but fundamentally a name, description, photo, tax benefit, cost, and type are the 6 elements of an ask. Now, it's very important to ask and ask with a specific amount. A lot of people say, I want them to give how much ever they give. What if I ask 500, but they can give 5,000? But believe me, research has often said if you do not put an amount, you're likely to get lesser money than what you ask for. Right? Further, most donors do not know how much to give. You have to anchor their thought process. You have to anchor their giving. So that is why you need an ask with time, with an amount, right? So again, research has shown that 50% more give in the first place when asked, because otherwise they have to think, should I give 5,000? Should I give 7,000? Okay, let me think. I'll come back after some time, and you lose them in the process, right? So having an anchor ask is very, very important. And there is a 12% increase in average donations when they are given an amount versus not being given an amount. So giving a specific amount in an ask is always very, very critical. And you could actually have this set up differently so that when you're asking from first-time donors, you're asking lesser, or from low-value donors, you're asking lesser, but for loyal donors, you're asking higher. That's the ideal way to construct this. Right? So like I said, few elements to use in a landing page which has the ask. Right? What is the name of your donation product? Putting up a description, having a story, photo, video, testimonials from existing donors, and also to show your credibility, maybe awards you won, corporate institutional partnerships that you have. Could be ways to enhance your ask. Right? I will show you an example from an organization called CMCA India. So CMCA India has one donate page where it lists down all its asks, first of all. Right? In addition to this, and so on this page, you'll see donor testimonials, and you will see this accreditation, so it establishes greater trust. You will also see separate landing pages for each ask, separate pages where each of the asks are present. Now, these separate pages are showing what we talked about, the donation product title, a description, an image, and actually the way to donate. Right? So this is an example of a really well-constructed landing page. Coming to fundraise, right? So now once you've done this, once you've created your ask, once you've put in place this mechanism on your website, you will start to, obviously, you should fundraise, right? And that's where the game is. So to make sure you are able to fundraise, you will have to do one of two things, either use a crowdfunding platform or use a payment gateway on your own website. Crowdfunding platforms generally charge between 5 to 20%. On your website, it will be 2 to 5%. Now, crowdfunding platforms don't have a platform fee, but they will all charge you for payment gateway charges, which ranges from 2 to 4%. And they ask your donors to pay a tip. A tip is an extra amount of anywhere between 5 to 15% that is paid by your donor to the crowdfunding platform. Right? You don't know how much they are paying. But understand this, if they are paying this 5 to 15% to the platform, maybe you could instead collect this 5 to 15%. Maybe you could get the top up, maybe you could get that value. And so I would always suggest that if you are doing retail fundraising, you must, as an organization, you must always do it on your website. Crowdfunding platforms are great for peer-to-peer fundraising. They are not good for organization fundraising. And many reasons for that, which I typically cover in my other thing. We won't have time to go through all of that today. But I think this is a very, very important distinction which you must consider. And hopefully you would be able to get that extra 5 to 15% from your own donor. And then you start reaching out. So while you reach out, you've already made your list, you've made your appeals, you've made your ask, and you will reach out with that. Now, there is one common mistake I find a lot of people making in this. They spend endless amount of time on their story. They spend endless amount of time on their appeal, but they miss out on making a very long, good prospective donor list, which is the most important thing. Now, once you've made that, like I said, making the ask, making the inspiration, you cannot get better beyond the point. There is a limit to it. There's no limit to the donor list that you can have, the contacts that you know, or the people who know you and the contacts that they know. So I think that is much more important. The second mistake a lot of people make is they don't remind donors to donate. A lot of people, when they run their crowdfunding campaign, they will write once, and if they don't hear back, they feel very disappointed. they think people do not want to donate. That is why they have not responded. But that is not the case. The most important thing in a fundraising campaign, or if I might say the three most important things are remind, remind, and remind. At least 3 times. At least 3 times. Because the first time someone sees your message, they're like, hey, great, I will do this. And I will do this when I have some time. When they have time, they've forgotten about it. So you must remind them again that, hey, you probably wanted to do it. You didn't get time. I'm reminding you again. Again, they might be busy and you should remind again. I have reminded people at least 5 to 6 times before I've got donations. 3 to 4 is the standard norm. Please don't think that they are not wanting to give to you. That's why they didn't do on the first attempt. How many times do you also do things the first time you are told to do it? Least of all, donate to somebody else's cause. So give people that time, give people that space. They will come back. Your job is to remind, right? So remind, the mantra for fundraising. And the last part, which is engage. So we talk about engage as I would say, this is the second most important thing after you make list, and list is a one-time activity. So once that is done, engage is the most important thing. You must engage both in offline mediums as well as online mediums. So what are those? What are some of these mediums? In the online world, it could be done through newsletters, it could be done through social media, blogs, podcasts, could be some ways to do it. For offline medium, you could have visits, volunteering opportunities, events, something you must have at least one thing that you do consistently. Quantity is not important. Quality is important, but it's okay if it's not great, it's good. Consistency is most important, right? We say with everything, consistency and discipline is the most important thing, right? So if you were to do a newsletter, how would you construct this newsletter? So here are our thoughts. It should be a 3-article newsletter, with the first article being a story. Like I said, not just a beneficiary story, a founder story, a volunteer story, a staff member story, a district magistrate story, a board member story. It could be a story of the community that got impacted, right? It could be a story of a donor. It could be the story of a donor who fundraised for you. It could be any story. Use different formats. Second is about the sector. Because understand that donors are not giving to your organization. Donors are giving to the cause your organization represents. You as the organization are merely a medium to fulfilling their giving to that cause. Thus, it is very important to educate the donor about the cause. If you put in information about the cause area, not yet the organization, about the cause area in your newsletter, you are likely to get donors to consistently open your newsletter and read it. A lot of people say donors do not read our newsletters. They do not read your newsletters because your newsletters are made up of 16 stories about your organization only. There's nothing else in your newsletter. That is why they don't read. It's not appealing to them. It's not interesting for them. And the last thing is the organization update. And if I have to break this up in terms of how much space I will devote to these three, it would be in the ratio of 40%, 40%, 20%. Right? The organization is the least important thing in this. An example of an offline engagement event could be donor days. Donor days are specific days, maybe every month, once a quarter, in your organization, where you invite donors to come and visit your organization. These have to be done in a very well curated fashion in a long form manner, maybe at least 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours also, but in a long form manner, not in a quick 15-minute visit. Right? So what you would do for this donor day is you will prepare an itinerary of how a donor day would be. For example, the first 30 minutes would be a briefing about the organization. the founding of the organization, what the organization has been up to, what it is currently doing. You may then take them around your premises. You may then have an interactive session with the beneficiaries. And at the end of it, maybe again get a debrief from them on what they felt about it, what their feedback was. Very, very important again to be regular with this. When you do this and 4 or 5 people come, you have gold for your newsletter and your social media. The 4 or 5 people who come will go back and tell 20 people each in their organizations. So use the material that you are getting through all of this to go back and tell your other donors. Your donors will be very happy that you're even doing this activity on a daily basis, on a regular basis. So the consistency again is critical in any of this. Even if people don't come, the fact that you are telling people you are doing it is what counts, right? People may not come, it's okay, but the fact that you are doing it is what people will remember. Trust me on that. Right, so this is not just a theoretical framework that I'm putting forth before you. So I want to show you a case study of a cohort with which we first piloted this framework. It was a cohort of 20 NGOs. These 20 NGOs got training on each of these elements of life. I have spoken today for about an hour. All of these sessions together are roughly about 20 hours of content. That we did. We also had coaching for each of these organizations in a very 1:1 manner. These organizations achieved this. So first of all, there was on average a 12 times growth in the list size, right? You all saw in your own list size, you probably saw 2 times, 3 times, 4 times growth. But when you actually sit down to do it, we were able to help these organizations on average get a 12-time growth. To the extent that before the program, only 3 organizations had a list size of 5,000 plus. After the program, 15 NGOs had a list size of 5,000 plus, and 19 NGOs had a list size of 3,500 plus. 19 out of 20 NGOs had more than 3,500 donors. Right? So much so that they all were using a free email marketing platform like a MailChimp, which many of you all might be. And now it was no good for them because their list size increased so much and they had to use a paid marketing platform. They also raised a lot of money and many organizations, even small organizations, there was one particular 2-3 organizations of just 40-45 lakhs who each raised about 15 to 18 lakhs in one campaign. Right? Because the list size grew so much, because they took a lot of our story, asked lessons and all of that. Right? So in one campaign, about 40% of your budget got raised. We got good ratings, NPS and all of that. And so, yeah. I'll just see if I can play this video. Yeah, I'll just play this video, tell you about our program. Am I able to play it? Okay, I'm not able to play it, but my colleague will play this. Okay, here I have got it. Please let me know if you can't hear.
This course was the 4th course on fundraising for me, apart from 5 incubations जहाँ पे fundraising पे sessions attend किए. I think the one most significant difference was the जिसको हम MBA college में capstone project बोलते हैं. You're actually doing things. And theoretically, it was like 10 years of listening to different advice on fundraising strategies and how it is important. But the question was always key as a founder, what can you do and how do you take out time balancing between multiple stuff? So the very fine tricks and tips, they not only just build the confidence. You start with something very micro level and then you build your confidence to pick up the larger battles. has been my USP. I mean, theoretically, I knew of most of the things that were being talked about, other than the email marketing issue ka resolution. But it was really helpful. The action based approach was really helpful and not the theory and yeah, because वो बहुत जगह पे हम conferences और हर जगह सुन चुके हैं. So that is something that I'm recommending everybody to be part of the cohort if they seriously want to run fundraising and all. Yeah. It's like engineering में we used to read all the engineering books and end of day आज भी हम अपने घर में पंखा नहीं लगा सकते. I mean, so इस तरीके से fundraising का course भी है. I mean, the too many courses and all, but we are still not able to raise money. So that's the difference.
Okay, I will move ahead. Yeah, that's it from my end. Happy to take any questions.
We have one question in the chat, if you'd like to address that. So Anil is asking, Anil, do you want to ask your question yourself?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to ask, hi, Dhaval. So I just wanted to ask, what are the things to keep in mind while making the list, the donor list which we are talking about, and also what must be the non-negotiables in creating those lists? If you could answer.
So I think have a very, very good reason to exclude someone. Don't have a reason to include someone. I would put that on you. I think most of the time we are very shy of including people. We are wondering whether they are a donor or not. But like I said, we don't really know who is a donor and who is not a donor. So don't worry about whether the person is a donor or not, but only if you have like in Maharashtra there's a 36 ka ankada with that person, then don't include. But otherwise, I mean, if you think he's going to come and kill you for sending him an email, don't include. But otherwise, there should be no reason to not include someone on your list.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Nobody? No questions?
Also, I have one more, if I may ask.
Sure, go ahead.
So yes, so I've seen the presentation, also his testimony, so which is good. But then, is there any criteria for which org can join, or any eligibility criteria or things which a org must have before joining the course or the cohort, if possible?
So Anil, currently we are not running the cohort, but we do have an e-learning module which is there, which has collated all the information of the cohort. Like I said, what I have told you in 1 hour, I will be detailing I'm detailing in 20 hours in that e-learning module. And anyone can sign up for the e-learning module. And my colleague Kayo will talk more about this after my session. Hopefully you will get a better sense of what that encompasses.
Yes, awesome. Thank you.
Right? Any other questions?
Yes, it's not question at all. Actually, I need some more clarification on donor day because I couldn't get it how to make it. Thank you.
So you didn't understand what donor day is, or you didn't understand how to go about doing it?
The both. I mean, what is donor day actually? I mean, how could I mark the calendar that this is for donor day?
For
And how could I
example, you
make
could
it?
just declare that the third Saturday of every month will be a donor day.
Okay,
And
any
you
day as per
invite,
our convenience.
yeah, as per your convenience.
Okay.
And you then invite donors, saying that all those donors who want to come know more about the organization, more about the work we do. You know, we are organizing this donor day from 10 to 1 in the morning. So please join us. And then for that 3 hour, have a very clear cut agenda on what you are going to do through that 3 hours. For example, like I said, the first 45 minutes could be introduction to the organization. The next 45 minutes could be a walkthrough through the premises. There could be a 15-minute, half an hour interaction with beneficiaries. And it could all end in another half an hour session at the end, where you would talk more about, you would do a debriefing with the donors, understand what their experience was, do some kind of photo session, so on. You have to the basic idea is do it consistently and have a plan. Have a clear cut agenda of what you are going to do in that donor day, and then train the person who's going to take up the donor day, train multiple people. So anyone in your organization can conduct this donor day.
Okay, actually, what we do normally throughout the year, we hold three to four events, and where we invite our donors to join and to interact with the beneficiaries. Can we convert this as a donor day also? Because that day, we suppose we are doing a women's sports. I'm just telling you. So our target is the women donors. We invite them to come and see that what the women sports is and how we are bringing these women in the sports. So can it be a donor day also?
It is a donor day, but my point is doing something once a quarter is not consistent enough. So while it's great that you are doing these 4 events, and they're probably larger scale events, which you are probably having to specifically prepare for and spend a lot of effort in. I would say at least for the other 8 months of the year, do a simpler donor day format, which does not require so much preparation. You do a one-time preparation. Okay, you conduct a mock drill on how to go about a donor day. Do a mock thing. Maybe 2-3 people in your organization can do it. And then the goal should only be, there is outreach to people that it happens. And at the end of it, people can, there is outreach and people can come. And the same thing happens on all 8 occasions. So there is no effort that has to be spent from a preparation point of view. The only effort is the execution and the outreach. There is no other effort.
Okay, so you are suggesting to make a donor day at least once in a month, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Right? Anyone else?
We had a couple questions come in during registration, if you want to take one, while people are still thinking about or articulating their questions. So there's one. This is Muralidhar ji asking about how retail fundraising strategy can help organizations achieve 100% of their budget if the organization does not have external support. Perhaps it's more like, is that possible to, or is it a good practice to have 100% of the budget coming through retail fundraising? So if you'd like to take that up.
I think it really depends on the work of the organization that it does. And there are some organizations that do have upwards of 90% also of their budgets coming from retail fundraising, because they are very, very grassroots service delivery organizations. So if everything that you do can be dependent on an uncertain amount of money coming through, because it is going to be uncertain, then certainly you can do it. But if you already have costs that have to be incurred, and you cannot depend on uncertainty, then you need to balance it with other forms of funding. I always think that one should diversify their funding base. But at the end of the day, it also depends on what area you're working on. Retail works for everything. I will also say that for anything and everything, it can work. But whether it can work 100% or not will depend on what the cause area is.
Thank you. I think we have another question in the chat box. Fatema ji, would you like to pose the question yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much. Firstly, thank you so much for the session, Dhaval ji, for educating us on retail fundraising, especially the difference that you highlighted using the OPQRS acronym. My question is very simple. For online communication, what is the frequency for email, one, and separately for WhatsApp, to ensure that we're not overdoing or underdoing from the frequency side, like the way you advised for consistency for offline events? What would be a good practice to keep the consistency online?
So if it's about engagement on email, I would say at least once a month, minimum.
Once a month, okay.
Yes, once a month. WhatsApp can be more frequent. It can even be once a week.
Okay, and just a quick follow-up question on WhatsApp. Are these running through groups or a broadcast, or is a community created? Are there any practices around that which works better?
I think eventually you have to move out of all this, because these all have limits, right? A group has a limit of 1,000. Broadcast depends on whether the number is there on the other person's device.
Correct.
So your list, we cannot be thinking of our list as being so small as 1,000. So we have to move to, just like you have email marketing platform, there are WhatsApp marketing platforms also. So we need to move towards WhatsApp marketing platforms.
All right.
Right. And then you will have a lot more flexibility in how you do things.
Right. Thank you so much.
Great. So, Beda, if there are no more questions, I thought what we could do is, if everyone can just switch on their cameras for a bit, and we can just take a screenshot, that would be nice. Right. So before we move on to the next section.
Good to see a lot of faces.
Everyone's up for a photograph. Yes, let's everyone can switch on their cameras, please. At least we should get one screen full of cameras. Okay, I think we've achieved that now. Okay, smile everyone. And thank you. Okay, so if there are no questions, we'll hand it back to Beda. And I'm there. So even if you have some questions as you go through the next section, we can answer them at the end of that section as well.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dhaval. I think it was very insightful, and we've had a lot of good advice, a lot of good new thoughts that we can take home and reflect on and execute, hopefully, or at least try in our organizations. With that, I think the next segment of the session, Kayomers will be taking us through. So Kayo, please go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Bela. Thank you. I'm just going to share my screen. If someone can just confirm if it is visible, fine, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, great. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kayo, and I'm part of the danamojo team, and I will be walking you all through what is Dana with the e-learning. So Dhaval has already touched upon a lot on the life framework. So what we have, in a sense, done is taken this life framework that we ran with that pilot cohort. We have put that into an LMS system as an online e-learning course, which organizations can now take up. So before we get into what that course is and how it can benefit you and what it entails, I'll just start off with a little bit of a backstory. Yeah. So most organizations, when they start off on their journey, they're primarily doing retail fundraising, which means we are raising funds from our friends, family, network, our close connects and contacts to raise funds for our organization and for the work that we do. As an organization evolves, it is eligible for CSR and FCRA funding. In that process, the retail fundraising initiatives within the organizations tend to reduce. And as an organization evolves even further, when the founder, CEO, and as an organization, we are chasing that one CSR funder, we are looking at that one HNI, high ticket item donor, our retail fundraising initiatives are almost negligible within the organization. Now, what that does is we start facing several challenges because of that, right? There are cash flow issues, there is lack of flexible funding, there is a basic gap within the organization, funding gap within the organization itself, which we are trying to fulfill. And in as a process, we cannot run innovative, creative, new programs and projects because we're too busy trying to just fill that funding gap. So we would like to encompass all of that into one problem statement, which is a lack of a system and process to institutionalize retail fundraising within the organization at the early phase. And given the trajectory of how the sector has been developing, CSR funding is drying up. We are struggling to find that high ticket HNI donor. We are struggling to convert a high ticket HNI donor or a CSR donor even after we have found them. So we are proposing that we look at retail fundraising as an alternative source of revenue generation, which is what you all had also mentioned through the poll in terms of diversity in funding. So, and what ends up happening in the process of all of this is now that the organization has become so involved in its day-to-day functioning and activities, the founder CEO do not have time to set up that system and process for retail fundraising within the organization. So, as a solution to that problem is what we are proposing Danavriddhi e-learning. So, what is Danavriddhi e-learning? It is an online self-paced course for nonprofits similar to yourselves who want to do retail fundraising, who want to explore their potential, but like you all rightly mentioned, don't know how. So this course will basically help you answer that question as to how do we do this. Dhaval has already broken down the four phase life framework for us, which is list, inspire, fundraise, and engage. So as he mentioned, through that pilot cohort, we have a lot of videos, a lot of training sessions, a lot of testimonials, a lot of case studies that have been discussed as part of that cohort. We've converted all of that into an online course. So as part of the course, you would receive 20 hours of video content. There are several training sessions, master classes by sector experts, which will walk you through the different aspects of list, inspire, fundraise, and engage. We also have panel discussions as part of the course where nonprofits are sharing some of their challenges and success stories as to what has worked well and has not worked well for them with regard to retail fundraising. So you can go through all of this video content and learn from the best practices and challenges that others have faced. We didn't want this course to be primarily theory or an information dissemination program, right? Because there's a lot of theory available out there. So what we've done is we have, similar to what Dhaval did, was one exercise on one of the modules, which phase, we have incorporated activity sheets within the course itself. So you undergo the theory, you fill out those activity sheets as an organization, put that theory into practice, and in the process, that retail fundraising system, that retail fundraising muscle gets built for you within the organization. As part of the course, you would be getting lifetime access to this course content, so you can go through it at your own pace. There isn't any start or end date to this particular course, so you don't have to log in onto a particular date at a particular time. You get login credentials to the website itself, so you can sign in. You can dedicate 2 hours of the week, 1 hour today, a few hours on the weekend. It's up to you to basically undergo this entire course by yourself. In our estimate, it would take somewhere between 4 to 6 months to undergo this course from start to finish. Like we mentioned, 20 hours of video content will basically take you 20 hours to do. But like Dhaval said, the actual time that goes in is the exercise sheets to actually put that theory into practice. So we are recommending somewhere between 4 to 6 months to do the course from start to finish. You would receive a certificate from our end as a certified retail fundraising practitioner as well. We also set up a WhatsApp community where we currently have about 90 participants, organizations who are on that group. And we also do the first Friday of each month, we do sort of like a monthly check-in call. So all the participants of the course basically log into a Zoom call. Dhaval and myself are there, our team is present, and we use both the WhatsApp community as well as the monthly check-in calls as an opportunity to just brainstorm ideas, discuss concerns, share success stories, share challenges. And as a community and as a group, we help sort of help each other in solving those problems and creating that community of learning. Moving forward, as Dhaval has already touched upon these, I'll just quickly walk through them. This is what you can aim to achieve as tangible outcomes from this course. So by the end of this course, each organization should have a list size of minimum 5,000 or at least 100% growth in their list size. You should have strong donation products and campaigns written down and ready to go for the fundraising phase with regard to your organization and its work. A tangible monthly calendar as well as a social media calendar on engagement as well as communication for the organization and its work. And we've already talked about the offline engagement with regard to donor days, etc. So the course will walk you through how do you go about creating all of these pieces more in detail. Like Dhaval said, he spoke about it for an hour, but the course basically covers this over 20 hours. We have about 70 organizations who are already part of this course. You can just have a look at some of their names. You can see that we have some mid to large to small size organizations who are doing this course with us and are currently undergoing this learning journey. And the WhatsApp group, as well as those monthly Zoom calls that I mentioned, have about 90 members as part of it, 70 who are doing this e-learning course, including the 20 cohort members that Dhaval had mentioned. So we have a group of 90 strong, and we're hoping to see a few more of you join that as well. I will just break down a little bit more in terms of the course curriculum that we have created. So module 1 is all about list, right? How do you build that prospective donor list? So the importance of donor acquisition, the different circles that Dhaval mentioned, several other tips and tricks are also mentioned within the course that you can look at implementing and building that prospective donor list. The goal here is spend 4 to 5 weeks to create that prospective donor list of minimum 5,000 for your organization. If you can, and on an ongoing basis, keep developing and growing that prospective donor list. Module 2 is all about Inspire, which is about crafting the ask, crafting the story of your organization and its work. So we have masterclasses by sector experts like Ravi Shankar, Suman Srivastav, etc., who are part of this part of the module. They have their masterclasses which they're taking, which will explain to you how do you craft the ask for your organization, and in the process build out these donation products and campaigns for your organization and its work. Module 3 is all about fundraise, right? So now you have your story in place and you have your prospective donor list in place. The goal here is to run a fundraising campaign using those stories and that prospective donor list and raise funds for your organization. So you will actually see the impact of all the theory that you're learning and all the exercise sheets that you've done come into practice. The goal here is to not just cover the cost of the course, but in our assumption, you should be able to raise enough such that you can even 10x your return on investment of actually purchasing this course and undergoing this course in terms of time and effort. And as Dhaval has already deeply explained, the fourth module is all about engage. So how do you engage with your donors? I mean, like it's something as simple as organizations keep asking us, how do we get new donors, right? But the question is, what are we doing to engage our existing donors? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. So creating this detailed engagement plan is what module 4 will walk you through. I will also very quickly just show you how our website looks like, which will give you a better understanding of what the course actually entails. So if you can see here, these are testimonials from different people who've been part of the course. This is the course curriculum that I was walking you through. You can see the different presentations, the training sessions. We have additional reading material which are listed under resources, which can help you get a better understanding of different aspects. These are the activity sheets that we were also mentioning. You need to sort of download, fill these out as an organization and build that system. We've done this for each module, so this should enable you to get a better understanding of the overall process and such that retail fundraising goes on an ongoing basis within the organization. That should be the larger goal for all of us here. Coming back to the presentation, like I mentioned, we have about 70 plus organizations who are undergoing this course with us at the moment. The course is a paid course. It's a 25,000 rupee course, but we're currently running a bunch of offers. One is for organizations who sort of sign up for the danamojo as well as the Dana Vriddhi platform together. We offer a discount on the course fee of 25,000. And we're also we have a donor who is offered a 50% scholarship on this particular Dana Vriddhi e-learning course for organizations working with Dalit and Adivasi communities. So in case anyone is interested in availing one of these offers or just wanting to get a better understanding of is this course for them and how do we help you sign up onto this, you can reach out to us. I will request my colleague Rachita to just put an inquiry form link into the chat, and you can fill out that inquiry form link, and our team will reach out to you, answer any questions that you have, and sort of help you get onboarded onto the e-learning course itself. That's it from my end. I will just pass it on to my colleague Rachita now, who will just sort of walk us through the danamojo platform and just share a little bit more about what we are. So over to you, Rachita. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So this is Rachita from danamojo. I'm sure most of us are very tired after listening constantly. So I'll show you a short presentation about the danamojo platform, and then I'll I'll show you a short video, and then I'll walk you through a short presentation. Yeah. All right, so now we'll quickly dive into the presentation. Just give me a moment. Yeah. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. All right. So, danamojo is a compliance-first payment solutions platform that has been specifically designed for the NGOs. We have onboarded more than 1,350 plus NGOs, and we've been in the sector for the last 9 years. We are supported by Rohini Nilikani and Social Alpha. So, to begin with, first, I would like to explain you how are we compliance first, or what do we mean by this statement, right? So, as an organization, we understand that it's very difficult for you to keep track of the constant regulatory requirements that are upcoming every year, every quarter. So, we take care of it so that whatever we built in, we have a compliance first approach in everything, right? So, we have a legally compliant donor form which captures name and address as per the regulatory requirements. If you want to provide tax benefits to your donor, we have a PAN capture option. And let's say you want to have only valid PANs in your system, we also have a PAN verification add-on feature for the same. So as soon as the donor enters the details, completes the donation, they get an instant automated ATG receipt. Now with danamojo, this can be done for online as well as offline donations. And by offline donations, we mean those donations that you're directly getting into your bank account via check, cash, bank transfers, right? Now, a couple of years back, the Form 10BD and 10BE system came into place, which took the NGO world by storm. So, our NGO partners have shared with us that it takes a bandwidth of around 2 to 3 people and a timeline of around 2 to 3 weeks to complete this entire process and get everything in place. But danamojo has automated this completely for a single click for you, where you can download all the donor data in a pre-formatted IT compliant Form 10BD, which you can directly upload in the IT portal. And with a single click, you can also send out 10B certificates to all your donors in bulk. Apart from that, let me tell you, we are currently the only service provider in India that can provide you with an FCRA gateway. Of course, if you have an FCRA certificate, and we will auto segregate your Indian and foreign donations based on the nationality of your donors. In case you want to capture the passport, that option is also available with danamojo. This is how we are a fully compliance first payment solutions platform. Now coming to the payment solutions, right? So what I would try here is to give you a simple analogy of shopping on an e-commerce website. I'm sure all of us have been doing this very regularly. So let's say you want to purchase a product. What are the steps involved in that, right? You select a product, you will add it to your cart, enter the necessary relevant details, the address and everything, make the payment with the payment options that are available, and then you will get the receipt. The role of a payment gateway here is restricted to the fourth step, where if you get a payment gateway for your website, they will just integrate that, and the rest of the steps you have to take care of. So we understand, in case, whenever somebody wants to build an online platform, there are too many micro steps involved when you want to get a system in place. And as an organization, you might not have the technical know-how, you might not have the bandwidth. Even if you hire a web development team, it's too expensive. So danamojo has taken care of this entire process. We have built the system end to end. So you don't have to worry of the micro steps involved in between. And that's how we are a complete payment solutions platform. Now, like I mentioned about the payment gateway, the integration of which is done in the fourth step. So danamojo's integration also happens on your website. It's a very simple and quick process. We use a simple HTML code pasting. So your tech team can do it. Our tech team can also do it on if you want us to do. The basic advantage of having the danamojo platform is the donors will remain on your website throughout the donation. As compared to other payment gateways or crowdfunding platforms, whenever a donor is clicking on the link, it will redirect them to some new link, which leads to lack of trust, reliability, donor drop-offs. But with danamojo, since it's there on your website, it is very reliable and trustworthy for the donor to complete the donation. As you can see, this is the website of Goonj, where the danamojo platform is integrated. And like I said, it takes a very short amount of time to get this entire thing in place. Now we have onboarded a lot of NGOs, 1,350 NGOs across 30 states of India, which includes some large-sized NGOs like CRY, SOS, PETA, mid-sized NGOs, and a lot of small-sized NGOs as well. Now, danamojo offers a complete suite of integrated payment solutions platform. So let's say you will have one-off donors who would want to come to your website, make a donation of 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, enter their details, get the receipts, and they will be off, right? The one-time donation platform is for those donors. Let's say you are having other donors who want to commit you for a longer period of time and want to donate you at regular frequencies, maybe every month or every quarter or every year. For those donors who want to commit to you for a longer time but do not want the hassle to come to the website and constantly enter the details, the online committed giving platform or the recurring platform is for those donors. Again, the USP with Danamojo is the zero integration effort. It hardly takes a couple of hours to get this platform in place, whereas as compared to other payment gateways, it can take months. So here, neither the donor has to worry about getting the receipts at every frequency, let's say every month, nor you have to worry about sending out the ATG receipts. So there is no intervention required. It works like an auto debit system. Now coming to the third platform, which is the anonymous donations or the UPI QR code platform. This is the most convenient and most loved platform because of the speed at which everything happens. It's very similar to your Kirana store QR codes where you go scan, make the payment and it's done. So here also dynamic QR codes are generated where the donor can quickly scan, make the donation and they are off. The challenge, however, remains with anonymous donations because the details are not being captured. As compared to generic QR codes or bank QR codes, Danamojo once again has tried to provide you the option. So we have a system where donors can later come back and record these donations so they can get the ATG receipts, and these anonymous donations also get converted to the recorded donations. We have also done a lot of automation in place to ensure that all these three platforms work in place and there is minimum manual intervention required. Now, let's say you've built an online system in place. Everything is there. You've got an online PG or you've built your own system. You will still have donors who will be comfortable donating to you offline, meaning via check or cash or even bank transfers. For those donors, we have an offline module in place where you can record these offline donations, generate ATG receipts, send it out to your donors, thank you acknowledgement mails as well. And it gives you it makes you free from all the hassle of getting this updated later in your Form 10BD. So all of this will get captured in your Form 10BD and you will have consolidated records. You don't have to maintain different files for offline donors, cash donors, and all of that. Everything gets accumulated in a single place. So it becomes very easy for you. I'm sure a lot of you would have either donated to crowdfunding pages or have run your own crowdfunding campaigns, right? When Dhaval was explaining, I saw a lot of people were asking questions around this. So we also have a very similar feature with the campaign pages, where you get a tracker. The start date and end date can be set up by the organization. You can upload images and everything. But again, the USP of Danamojo is we strictly believe in a no tipping system. We will never ask your donors for tips, which is the case in most of the crowdfunding platforms. In fact, we have a feature where your donors can cover a bit of your transaction charges. I'll talk about it later in the presentation. Apart from that, we have the recording of offline donations feature in the campaign page option as well. So your donor gets to see a holistic picture, how much donations you've actually raised, online, offline, everything together, and it encourages them to donate more. And we will provide you this crowdfunding page, the campaign page, on your custom subdomain. So again, this leads to donor trust, reliability, and trustworthiness, where they will not drop off seeing it to be redirected to some other random URL. And most importantly, as soon as your donor completes the donation, it automatically gets populated here under the contributors section. These are all authentic donors, so they can, one, see that yes, my donation has been recorded, and two, they can also put down the message which other potential donors or prospective donors can see and will feel good about donating more to your organization. Now we have a very, I would say, trending feature, gift a donation. Nowadays, people are gifting a lot on different occasions on behalf of their friends and family. So we have three types of gifting occasions: personal occasions, festivals, as well as in memory of or in honor of. We have a plethora of e-cards to choose from. Everything is automated. We have pre-built templates. So here, as an organization, you're providing an option to your donor to gift donations, like I mentioned, on behalf of certain people that they want, right? Now, all organizations will have their own brand colors and brand themes, right, on your website. So Danamojo's widget can also be customized as per your color, brand colors that you want. So the entire piece looks put into one place and the flow doesn't get hampered by this. So this is the theme customization feature available. You can also customize font styles. I've already talked about in brief in most of the features that are available at Danamojo and that we offer. The two most important features, which are a lot of high area of concern for organizations, the data security and privacy, as well as the phone and email support. So Danamojo believes in a very strict data security policy. Your donor data will always remain confidential. We never share your donor data to other organizations and vice versa. So we are very strict about that. Most of the platforms will provide you an email support, chat support, but Danamojo will also provide you phone support. And we have a typical turnaround time on the email of around 8 hours. So that is about the features. Now, let's say you think that I want to build my own payment platform with the traditional gateway that I have been using. So what are the factors involved in this, right? You have to invest in the one-time charge of a website developer or a technical team. You'll have to get a payment gateway which will have its own transaction charges and setup cost once you get it in place. You'll have to get a hosting provider and of course a team to maintain all of this and to ensure that everything is running smoothly, which will lead to a one-time cost of around 30,000 to 3 lakhs and annual charges of maintenance of 1 to 2 lakhs. But with Danamojo, you are getting a much evolved, automated, and a fast platform at a starting cost of 3.5K per year onwards, where we are providing you all the important features that you don't need to worry about. Everything is automated, right? Now, I was talking about the 0% feature, I mean the transaction charge coverage feature in the campaign page. So this is one of the most loved features by all our NGO partners, where you are getting an option to ask your donors to cover these charges. And these might not be your transaction charges. These could be overhead cost. These could be admin cost, anything that you want your donor to cover. And the percentage is in your hand. You can set up the percentage. And you can also set up a transparent, clear message why you're asking for your donors to cover and what exactly are you asking them to cover. We've observed that donors are willing to cover these charges in case of opt-in options where they have to choose it and then make the donation in 60 to 70% cases, and 80 to 90% of donors are wanting to cover these charges in opt-out option. So this is one of the USP of Danamojo with the 0% transaction charge feature. For those of you who do not have a website, we will provide you with a backup microsite, which is a very smaller version of a website where you can showcase your programs with donation products. You can upload images. And for those of you who already have a website, you can also use this as a backup when your website is being revamped, or let's say your website is down and a campaign is running, anything like that. You can use the microsite for that particular purpose. Now we've come to the end of the presentation. These are some of the awards that we have received. We are the winner of NASSCOM Social Innovation Forum 2018, winner of Pitch Right Season 2, and we've also got the Best Social Enterprise Award, Action for India Forum. These are some of the testimonials from our existing NGO partners. And yeah. Just a minute. So yeah, I think there's a QR code slide which is supposed to show, but not sure why it's not showing. Kayo, can you share that? Yeah, I think we are done with the presentation. So if there are any questions, my colleague Kayo will put it on the presentation where the QR codes are there and you can scan. You can fill us our inquiry form if you want to know more about the Danamojo platform or the Dana with the e-learning course. And any questions, we're happy to take.
May I?
Sure, please go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is, suppose we have our own website, but we do not have any payment gateway. So if we would like to, be with your part, so how could I make it and what will be the charges? You mentioned the charge starts from 3 and 3.5K per annum. I think it starts from here, but it must be on the volume of the book.
So, Supriya, we have different plans and platforms. You'll have to take our fill up our inquire form and take the demo. And you don't need to have a payment gateway. We will provide you with the entire payment platform, like I said. So just you can click on the link and fill up the inquire form, and our sales team will get in touch with you with all the plans and pricing and everything that is there.
Okay. And the second question is, are you hosting the website also? I mean, not only the developing the design.
No, so we will provide you an HTML code which your tech team can integrate on your website, and the microsite which I was talking about, that can be on your NGO subdomain, on your NGO
Okay.
custom subdomain.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Supriya ji. And thank you so much, Rachita, for taking us through this. We had a question from Anil ji in the chat box. Anil ji, if you're still with us, I see you here. If you would like to ask your question yourself, please feel free.
Yes, thank you so much. So this was before when Kai was taking session. So I just wanted to ask you, when explaining each and every step along for the done with the e-learning course, you've mentioned that it has been formatted and the framework's been set in such a way that we can learn everything by ourselves. So are also the resources mentioned? I know the resources has been mentioned and you've talked about it, but then is it mentioned step by step where we will be able to have some options to go to, like how Dhaval had said for WhatsApp marketing platforms? Will it suggest, or what does the resource have? Do we get any options out of it, or how does that work?
So the resources, Anil, is mainly to help you get a more clearer and better understanding. It's additional PDF documents that you can go through, additional videos that you can go through. With regard to any questions that you may have, you can leverage the WhatsApp group, etc., that I was mentioning, and you can sort of raise your questions and concerns there, and our team will help address. And as well, we will also on that group be encouraging the rest of the group to address, because these are a lot of times problems that people have already solved or they have a solution to. So if you have any question as part of the course, you can use that platform as well as the Zoom call to do that. Just to highlight that the resources, etc., on the website as part of the e-learning course, you can go through, but you won't be able to download any of those resources. But the activity sheets are what you can download and sort of fill out as an organization. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, understood. And just to top it off, one more question. Just let's say, like how Dhaval mentioned, Chipmunk, we can choose for email marketing, right? So, like any other options which will be provided as resources, or just and way to just learnings out of it.
No, there are options as well. Suggestions are also mentioned as part of the course, and I can also tell you even now things like Brevo, Flowdesk are also options that you can consider to use. But there's a lot more in depth within the course itself. Dhaval is, like we said, covered 1 hour out of 20 plus hours. But yeah.
Bilkul. Thank you.
All right. Perfect.
Thank you, Anil, and thank you, Gayo. Does anyone else have any questions they'd like to ask? We're almost towards the end of the session. If you have another meeting to drop off to, please do fill in the feedback form. The link is given on the chat. It helps us know what you'd like to hear more about, the kind of topics that you'd like to take up, and it generally helps us improve the experience that you may have in these webinars. So please feel free to suggest topics and let us know how your experience has been today. If there are no more questions, we had a couple of questions, small questions come in during registrations. I'd like to club them together, and perhaps the team could come in for that. And maybe this could be sort of like some final words of wisdom. So we have questions around how important retail fundraising for NGOs in India is, especially the newly registered or grassroots level organizations. And how do you decrease that resistance to retail fundraising by taking some sort of like a small actionable step forward? So perhaps any words of wisdom, if you could share with all of us here? Dhaval, Kayo, Rachita.
I think that, like, Kayo mentioned in his presentation, almost all organizations start with retail fundraising, because when you are a new organization, where else are you going to get funds from? It is going to be retail funders. So you actually have no option but to do that. And most organizations do that. I mean, they overcome whatever barriers, whatever, horrors they have in their head, they clear that up and they make sure that they are able to ask. I think you asked a good question about an actionable step. I think if organizations just created this donor list, this process, or forget even create, just look at the number of prospective donors you could have on your list. I think that can serve as a great, very inspirational thing of saying, hey, you know what, I do have these many people I can reach out to and raise money from. And so I can try to do that. And I think that can be a very positive motivation for people.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dhaval. And with that, I think we can end the session here. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us on a Thursday afternoon and spending this time with us, learning with us. Hope you've liked the session. Do fill in the feedback form once again. You will be receiving a post-session email, and in that email, you'll have the session recording, and you'll have access to the recording anyway, which will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. So don't worry about that. And thank you so much, Danamojo team. Thank you so much, Dhaval, Kayo, Rachita. It was a wonderful session. We loved learning about this life framework, and it's opened up a lot of ideas, a lot of conversations, a lot of things to think about. I hope we can all take back some good learning from today. So have a wonderful evening, everybody, and see you next time in the next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Beda. Thank you, Atma, for having us here.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening ahead.